Hey friends, it's time for our next chapter of Bagua class notes. So yesterday it was the 18th of January in 2022, our second week in 2022, and we started this year last week with a first introduction to the tiger palm change, our third palm change in the Yizong Bagua system. And as promised, today we would talk about the weight shifting topic that we've had in last week's class and that we continued on in this week's class. So let's get started. So I filmed a bit more of the warm-up portion and not so much of the actual palm change itself, but just to get the message over for the warm-up. Especially when we want to practice weight shifting with the legs, I focus on a lot of controlled motion in the hip joints. So we were starting off with these exercises here, trying to balance on one leg and then circling the knee around, turning the hip, and coming back to the central axis. This kind of warm-up is just something that I like to do a lot before I practice low stances, and it is just to loosen the whole hip area after a day of maybe sitting or whatever you did, but it's an evening class, so everyone joins class and brings with him or her different layers of tension. So with this warm-up we try to reduce this before we actually move into lower stances, so we can have a better awareness and sensitivity of what's actually happening in the hip area as well as the knees and the toes, because if you've been watching my videos recently or in online courses, that I put a lot of emphasis on proper alignment of major joints. Usually it's aligning the toes, the knees, and the hips, as well as the hips and the shoulders. So moving through the full range of motion with this warm-up exercises here before actually starting the exploration is important. Okay, so we started the weight shifting topic again with a very simple bamboo step, a half step here. And what we try to explore here is that in a casual or everyday stance, you would always want to shift your weight forward and backward through pushing into one leg. So if I want to move forward, I need to push from my back leg, and if I want to move backwards, I need to push into my front leg to move the center of my body to the other direction. And this is just what everybody does, and it's perfectly fine. But this time, and especially for the tiger palm change, it's super interesting if you try to work with both legs simultaneously. So when you want to move your weight and shift your weight forward, you not only try to push from the rear leg, but you also try to pull from the front leg simultaneously. And that's a nice exploration, especially if you start in very simple stances like this bamboo here, just one leg in front, or if you stand in a hip-wide stance or even a slightly wider stance like I showcase here. So you want to explore how your second leg, the one which is usually not active, can help the overall control and motion when it adds a pulling to the pushing of the primary leg. Okay, so after that, I recommend to just do that in simple stances, everyday stances, and go for it for like 10 minutes. You will have a super nice warm-up of your legs. Some of your muscles will scream at you because it's so uncommon to use both the push and the pull mechanics to shift the weight. And after that, it's time for specific training. In this case, we went straight into the practice of the stance here of the tiger palm change. both working on our capacity to move up and low into the stance, but also working on our capacity to shift from one leg to the other without changing the height of our body. And therefore, we used both the pushing from the opposite leg and the pulling. So it feels very, very connected. You also feel that your toes are actually like grabbing the floor. You will have a lot of activation in your feet as well as in both legs. And the reason why we do that is not just because it's an interesting exploration, but in our regular takedowns and stuff, when you're getting pulled into a certain range of motion and you don't use both legs for stability, well, then you usually just fall over. But if you're moving with active legs, both of them, one pushing, one pulling, you will gain a lot more stability, and you might be able to just not fall down after your own takedown attempt. Okay, that's quite helpful. So after that, it was time to move back into our palm change practice. This is tiger palm change from the Yizong Bagua system. As mentioned in the last video, it's the small frame. But if you want to see it more the details, then you should watch the video of last week. After that, we introduced some new partner exercises to the group. This one is a nice, wrestling partner exercise where you just hold your hands like that and you try to unbalance your partner, but you also mostly try to keep your own balance. And the emphasis here is not so much on the competitive part of the exercise, but again about becoming more sensitive and more aware of the push-pull mechanics in the legs. Same with this exercise. It looks like a Tui Shou practice, but it should not be a Tui Shou practice. It is the same thing. We are putting more awareness towards our pushing and pulling mechanics in the legs when moving forward and backwards. So you want to be able to adjust very, very carefully and shift your weight in just the right amount so you can avoid the pressure from your partner. Another thing in this exercise here is to note that it's not a Tui Shou exercise in the sense that it's a sensitivity drill for the hands and to learn how to avoid the pressure. No, in this exercise here, the emphasis is on grinding, on getting pressure and receiving pressure, and then to work with that pressure through your arm and through your shoulders. So it's a very intense exercise actually, even if it doesn't look like much, but give it a try. So again, this is not a typical Taiji super soft Tui Shou exercise, but it is actually about building up tension and about grinding and becoming stronger, both in your stance as well as in your shoulder. And of course, there's also some avoiding of force, like in Taiji Tui Shou practice. But the main focus here is on becoming stronger, both in your lower body, but as well here in your upper body and in your shoulder joint. Okay, so this was yesterday's class. We will review the same topics in tonight's class, and from here we will move back next week into some of our takedowns and see how this new method of weight shifting can help us in becoming more stable, especially in the face after the takedown. So when we try to hold our own balance and not fall on the floor with our opponent. Okay, very interesting topic, and again I recommend to check out the push and pull mechanics in the most simple and basic stances, just one leg in front, and then you shift your weight forward and backward, and instead of pushing forward from the rear leg only, you also try to pull the center of gravity and the center of your body forward. And on the way back, instead of just pushing from the front leg, you also try to pull from the back leg. And then you have a really active stance, and also a nice activation in your feet. I also recommend to do that barefoot, because in shoes you might just not be able to really grab and use your toes. Using the whole chain of movement here. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this rather short episode of our Bagua class notes, episode 11, and well, see you again next week.